Hey guys, so I'm just going to do a quick Plerion demo here to get you familiar with the overall solution. I'm going to walk you through our cloud and code security platform and our AI security engineer. So once we do deployment, ultimately this is going to be the initial home screen dashboard where you log into. In the background, there's a heap of data coming into the solution. So on the left-hand side, you can see the types of issues that we're looking for. So vulnerabilities, that's language package and operating system findings or misconfigurations. We've got identity and access, so cloud identity and entitlements, who has access to what, which services have read-write access to other services. We then have a bunch of other things we're looking at, like hard-coded secrets, network topology. There's like I said, a heap of data coming in. Of that data, which for medium to large size environments, we will see thousands, if not tens of thousands of issues, particularly when we're talking about vulnerabilities too. What the solution is trying to do is now start to provide a bit of a curated list of your priority issues. So we've got a couple of things that we'll focus on initially. We've obviously got the focus here to draw your attention to that curated list of issues we want you to dive into first. All of these click through, investigate, find out more. This particular issue, we can see there is unauthorized access to data that sits in an RDS instance which is publicly exposed. We can see there are a bunch of contributing factors which make this RDS instance something that we want to, sort of rise up, bubble up to the top, and bring your eyes towards. Not only are we showing this from the connection point and the issues from within the cloud infrastructure, we're also doing an external fact check, i.e. can we gain access to that data source ourselves? And yes, we've been able to do that. So that's those contributing factors bubble this up to be a top risk, and that's why we're sort of bringing it here to your initial focus. Once we sort of go through these, what we'll start to do is dive into these other key areas which are top risks. These can predominantly be thought about data sources exposed to the internet. There is a little bit of nuance there, but that's typically what they are. And from our perspective, and from what we can see, most likely inadvertently exposed. And then we've got attack paths. So these are those sort of visual toxic combinations of issues that result in potentially data sources, again, being exposed to the internet. The difference here is we're looking at a combination of publicly exposed and vulnerable assets, where the data source can obviously sit at the end of the chain there. And a data source doesn't just have to be a bucket, or a DB or an RDS. There are other sensitive piece of data and information that can be exposed, things like personal access tokens and other stuff. And again, we've got that vulnerable and publicly exposed language here. I won't click through now, but all of these are a click through to investigate. We can then also start to ask the agent to do further investigations. The AI agent suggest the fix, create the ticket. Obviously, start to do a lot of the work on behalf of the individuals. Cool. In terms of top risks, like I said, this is that RDS instance that we saw that was bubbled up here into the focus area. Again, these are the areas that we'll dive into most when we get into things. Cool. Other things to look at is vulnerabilities. So one of the biggest use cases for Plerion is as a vulnerability management tool specifically. Obviously, we've bubbled up those top risks from a holistic perspective across the cloud environment, and now we want to start diving in and tackling those large number of vulnerabilities that we have in the environment. Again, 26,000, that's going to be really difficult to sieve our way through. In the traditional sense, you could start to look at things like what's the severity rating, critical, high, medium, etc. Does exploit code exist, or has this vulnerability been exploited in the wild before? You can see from a critical perspective, we've got 3 of those. If we add in high, we got 69. So a much more consumable list to start to tackle. That said, just because it's been exploited before, it does not mean it's exploitable in your context. So that's where Pleri, our agent, is going to step further to start to analyze these CVEs to understand, again, if they are actually exploitable. So what I would do here is hit Analyze Exploitability, and I'll just show you a couple that I did previously. So here's one. So Pleri's investigated the vulnerability. This has taken maybe 60 seconds or so. We've done the base level assessment, so we've taken that CVSS score. We've then built out the requirements in terms of what would need to be met in order for this vulnerability to be exploitable in your context. And Pleri has determined that it's not exploitable. So one or more of the preconditions have not been met. Now, all of these conditions are documented here. One example is the EC2 instance is currently stopped. So the kernel isn't running, there's no code on the system, therefore it can't be executed or exploited. What this helps with is prioritization. This would obviously move down that prioritization ladder, and you would obviously focus on those vulnerabilities that not are only critical or high, but more importantly, they have operational severity in terms of most likely or being determined to be most likely exploitable. All of these you can dive into again, start to leverage the AI agent, Pleri, to understand more around what is going on here or ask specific questions. Now, if you did want to fix this, you can get the patch guidance, or for this example, again, probably goes into the backlog, it's a lower priority. We'll just create the ticket for that. Another example is this one. So after doing our vulnerability analysis, we've actually deemed this to be, it's still unknown. So we couldn't fully determine whether this one is exploitable or not. So that is going to happen sometimes. And so the reason is one or more of the required conditions are unknown. And we'll just flick through those in a moment. But what is interesting is based on the analysis we've done so far, we've actually increased the severity here. So what this means is this becomes more of a priority for manual investigation or further investigation, and likely remediation as well. So we've sort of detailed the conditions that have been met. There's obviously a bunch, and then there's a few that are unknown as well. So all I've done here is then I've actually asked Pleri, well, why did you increase the operational risk? So Pleri started to explain why, and then as we can see down here, the MVD base score reflects the theoretical severity of the vulnerability in isolation. What it hasn't accounted for is the real-world operational severity layer, layers of exploitation context, i.e. is it being used, is a working exploit available? And now we've been able to determine that the answer to those particular requirements is yes. So therefore we've ramped up its criticality. Again, for this one, I think we would want to either immediately patch versus create a ticket, or again, require some human investigation to determine this further. But as you can see, what we're starting to do here is again start to prioritize where to spend time based on the deep analysis that the AI agent is doing to understand the risk profile of these vulnerabilities. Cool. Okay. So other areas. So cool. The other area that we'll spend time on is in Pleri specifically. So let me just take a step back here. We'll just go through the settings. So when you sign up, there's going to be a couple of things that pop up. So the first one is Pleri's going to want to know who she's speaking to. So why is this important? If she understands your role, your preferred communication style, and the tools and domains and other insights that you care about, that's just going to improve the communication that you get with the AI security engineer. Other things are around tools. So what integrations is Pleri going to have access to? When we start looping in the code repos, this is where Pleri can become really powerful in terms of not just identifying issues and prioritizing doing the investigation triage and prioritizing issues and helping with remediation. We can go all the way through and do the remediation, right? So Pleri can now raise PRs and all that's required from the engineering or the development team is to go and approve the changes of the PRs. In addition to this, Pleri is also reviewing PRs. So not her own, but the PRs that humans in the team are raising, Pleri can go and do the reviews there as well. So we'll spend a lot more time on this. Cool. Other things to look at which are quite interesting is you can now start to see, okay, like of the work that the agent's doing, how many tokens is she consuming, how often is the team interacting with her. But what becomes more important are those recurring tasks. So recurring tasks are those workflows that you've set up that the agent is just going to run autonomously in the background. And that could be anything as simple as reporting, or it could be more complex around, doing daily Kev analysis of your environment. And if a new Kev is identified, either having Pleri alert the team member, give the fix guidance, report on the fix, report on the fix and get it done, or have Pleri actually go and do the fix again, the workflow end to end. So what we're starting to see with mature customers is the recurring task number is stacking up quite significantly. And then what becomes useful for the agent is now you can start to see, we'll look at April, what's the work that the agent is doing on behalf of the team. You can kind of think about this as a monthly performance review of the agent and making sure that the value that she is providing is as expected. So we can see for this month alone, Pluri has saved over 300 hours by reducing manual effort required to do things like investigation, triage, and remediation. You can see the total investigations that she's doing, how many active users sort of interacting with Pluri, what is the outcome rate, which is pretty high there. Did users get what they came for? Again, in this environment, we can see 3 out of 4 times that is the case, and hopefully that's higher in other environments. What are the automated tasks that the agent's doing? So auto dependency vulnerability fixes, weekly vulnerability triage, dependency auto fix coverage, lots and lots of detail in terms of what the agent's doing. Cool. A couple of other interesting points are mental models being built. So exploitability first triage, automation design, change remediation ownership, compliance to action, supply chain awareness, and new skills that have been activated this month, which gives Pluri more capability to do the work that is bespoke to your organization and aligned to the security and compliance outcomes that you have. Cool, so that's ROI. Jumping into other areas, so you've got the simple chat interface. Most customers use this to really help get more value from the existing solution, the user interface. Maybe they have a query about a particular issue, or they don't know where to find something. Very simple chat interface that you'd be familiar with. Where the additional value starts to come in, like we said, is when Pluri is now doing the repetitive work that the team would have previously done manually or across multiple tool sets, right? So 2 examples here, weekly vulnerability SLA check and auto fix. So as we can see, Pluri is just scanning the environment on a weekly basis for vulnerabilities that are approaching SLA deadlines. I've just put in my SLA thresholds here. And then if any critical vulnerabilities are approaching SLA breach, please automatically fix them and send me the PR to review. Again, this can be as complex or simple as possible. But again, the opportunity here is to have the agent do the work versus the individuals. There are other components here like dashboards, just a one-click dashboard review. And this is where the Pluri capability becomes really, really powerful, right? Beyond what we're doing already. So what that means is we can either build in knowledge to Pluri to make sure that anytime Pluri does a certain thing, that she does it in a certain way that you want. And so in addition to that, though, we can also build skills which make Pluri more extensible. And so what I mean by that is Plerion's not a cost analyzer solution, but we've built a skill which means Pluri can now go and do cost analysis. Additional skills, which will probably add more value from a security perspective, is something like a S3 exposure check or scanning S3 buckets for sensitive data. So at the moment, Pluri can infer that there might be sensitive data within a bucket, but we can't peer into that bucket. We don't have that level of access. We are read-only. So by building that new skill into the Plerion platform, by building that into the Plerion platform with Pluri, that means that Pluri can now look at those S3 buckets and identify whether there's sensitive data in there or not. That enriches the data that we're getting and therefore helps with bubbling up those top priorities and those attack surfaces that you want to minimize. And there's a bunch of other ones here. And again, another thing that we're doing is we've built out a library. So what that means is these skills are ones that we've built internally for demo purposes, and we're starting to port these now over into the library, which all of our customers have access to. So you can come in and just apply that skill to your environment. You can also build your own skills as well, or port them over from things like Claude. Additionally, we're looking at ways for customers to add to that library as well to allow for, again, extensibility of capability and sharing of skill sets. Cool. So this is a lot of the stuff that we will spend time on. And yeah, so it's all about the underlying data security platform to give you that high level of that in-depth visibility, as well as those really clear prioritization, really clear prioritization by focusing on top risks, the focus here area and attack paths. And then it's all about leveraging the agent to custom build the workflows, or build the workflows that best suit your organization and move the organization forward to become a more modern cloud security practice. Last thing I'll touch on is in integrations. Settings, integrations. So multi-cloud, we've got the three sort of majors there. We've got the code repos, and then we've got the ticketing systems, right? Your Jiras and your so on. So these are the things that we would integrate again, so Plerion can end-to-end start to find, fix, and remediate issues on behalf of or alongside the team. There's obviously a bunch more things we can dive into other views of the data, but this is a good, I think, a brief summary for the key areas we will spend time on during a POC. Thank you.